Hi, I'm Danny and welcome back to my channel. In our previous episode, I covered the financial aspects of retiring in the Philippines. The monetary aspects, that is. Today, I'll talk about the non-financial matters that nevertheless are just as important. I will explain the steps I took and the matters that I had to take into account prior to making this retirement decision, in hopes that you will find some idea that might be of help to you. But first, let me give you a quick background on myself. I was born in the Philippines and I was 20 years old when I left the country to be an immigrant in the United States. Fresh out of college, I left the Philippines, as I said, to be an immigrant and subsequently be a US citizen. For practical purposes, you may consider me as an American, having grown up here in the US for the past 48 years. That's more than twice as much as I spent in the Philippines prior to that. But I still have not lost my Philippine heritage. Needless to say, I spoke the Filipino language, although I have to relearn some new words and lingo. And that was a strange feeling. I was still basically too young to know much of the Philippines when I left. After 25 years in the US, I went back to the Philippines with my children and my wife, of course, to show my children their heritage. And then again, after another 20 years, when my mother-in-law passed away, I never really looked back at where I came from. My entire family is in the US, and I consider the US as my home. I'm now retired and was not even thinking of the Philippines to enjoy some of my retirement years. I was actually considering retiring in the state of Delaware because of low taxes and a little bit lower cost of living. What happened then, you might ask? Well, in 2016, my mother-in-law passed away. She was living with us, and we had to take her back to the Philippines to bury her. That's when I accidentally started seeing the Philippines in a different light. It was because I was actively thinking of retirement at that time. The country has changed significantly, especially in Manila, and I saw some financial and non-financial benefit of considering Manila as a place for retirement. But this is not without some disadvantages. I will discuss both the advantages and disadvantages in another video. Here are the steps that I took and the things I had to consider before taking this leap of faith. Yours may be a little different, but it still will probably have some similarity. Being an accountant by profession or by education, I had to prepare a budget to compare my current spending in the US against the prospective spending in the Philippines as a retired individual. I did that for the planned retirement in Delaware State at first. Then I did the same thing when I decided to consider Philippines as a retirement place. I had to assess the medical needs that I needed to have because we were aging and we're getting more sickly. This is very important to us. Medicare does not really pay for anything outside the US. I will again talk about this in another video. There is now a 911 emergency service in the Philippines. I believe this started about 2 years ago. However, with the traffic congestion in Manila, I don't know if they will have the time to save me in case of a heart attack, which I'm reasonably good candidate for according to medical studies done on me. Well, just in case, I bought an AED defibrillator. Did I say that right? Defibrillator. For emergency use in the event this happens. Hopefully it doesn't. Now, the other thing is, how do I receive my Social Security benefits? Because US does not make Social Security payments outside of the United States. How will monthly transfers to and from the Philippines be made? How will it be handled? I found an effective way to do this, and these two I will discuss in another episode. Should I buy a single home, a townhouse, or a condominium? And where? And which builder should I use? Although I would have preferred a single home, I decided to buy a condominium for security reasons because I plan to commute back and forth to the Philippines and the United States because my loved ones are here in the US. Your situation may be different, in which case you may want to stay permanently in the Philippines and not bother about coming back in the US. Again, I will discuss this condominium buying process in another episode. And I will talk about condominium because that's what I decided to buy and I had experience doing it. It's quite different from the US. How will I communicate with my loved ones while I'm in the Philippines? It's very expensive to call the Philippines or to call from the Philippines. This is very important because my entire family is in the US. I will discuss this also in another episode. I'm sorry to do this, but each episode I'll have to discuss in another video, otherwise this video is going to be so lengthy. But I did find an effective way or solution to be able to communicate to the Philippines. After decision is made, how do I move my belongings to the Philippines? This is another consideration that I will address as we are going through the process right now. What will I do in the Philippines? My hobby in the US are firearms, target shooting and reloading, ammunition reloading, as well as hunting. Well, I can't do any of this in the Philippines due to firearm restriction. It is not convenient to do so, and therefore I had to think of other things that I will have to do. Well, 5 years ago, I got involved in cooking. I was most recently involved in sewing. Surprised? And just now, I'm aspiring to be a YouTuber. I intend to take advantage of that during my Philippine and Asian travels, which is what I plan to do when I retire. Obviously, you will see more postings about this in the not too distant future when I start traveling the Philippines. Now let's talk about environmental. In the Philippines, in the US, it is extremely clean and spacious. In the Philippines, it's a little crowded, disorganized, and a little bit dirty in some areas. However, you get to enjoy the warm weather all year round. If you prefer warm weather, then this is definitely the place for it. It, however, gets really hot on certain days and certain times of the year. It does not snow, but sometimes it floods due to poor drainage. Also, you get to enjoy the Asian environment such as coconut trees and banana trees, mango trees, and some other fruit-bearing trees. In some parts of the US, you get to enjoy during the springtime the flowering trees and changing colors of foliage. That's the advantage of the US, and as well as the disadvantage of the US when it comes to the Asian environment. That's in Asia, it's very pleasant to see coconut trees and banana trees. This is why I plan to enjoy both spending time in the US and in the Philippines. Well, hopefully you were able to get some good information out of this video. As I said, I will continue to post additional episodes that, among others, will more specifically address the advantages and disadvantages of retiring in the Philippines and the other areas of concern such as medical insurance, medical services, transferring of funds to and from the Philippines, buying a condominium, the telephone services or telecommunication matters, and how to handle the move to the Philippines. If you're interested in these topics and like this video, please like and share and subscribe below. This will help me a lot in developing more videos or more information for you as I go through this retirement adventure. By subscribing, you will receive up-to-the-minute updates. Thank you very much for tuning in, and make it a great day.